Hello there, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. Today we're going to be watching and reacting to Numberphile. It's a channel that I really love and I really enjoy, even though sometimes I don't fully understand or comprehend some of the things that he gets into. I definitely try to, right? Well, today's topic is a little bit different. Today is going to be a little bit of a history lesson on calculus, and we're going to go ahead and watch this. The real story of calculus, guys. Link to the video will be in the description down below. But yeah, it's the very early history of calculus in India is the story. And of course, if you know, I mean, I'm sure most of the people watching me know, but if you don't know, or if you do know, India has had a lot of impact, and they are behind a lot of the major mathematical knowledge that we currently know and use today. So yeah, I'm very interested to see, very interested to see what we are about to get ourselves into. So let us sit down and enjoy. I will try. Again, I don't fully understand. I think this is more of a story-based thing. Yeah, it goes into the history and the knowledge and learning a little bit more. So it's going to be a lot more digestible than some of his other videos. Uh, so yeah, we'll just get into it, guys.
So, a wonderful physicist and mathematician, Professor P.P. Divakaran, who was
P.P. Divakaran. Professor P.P. Divakaran.
retired from Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. It's a premier institute in India for physics and maths. He passed away at the age of 89 on 23rd of August. And he was a close friend
Oh, from this year, huh?
of mine. He has done incredible amount of work in particle physics and more recently in bringing Indian calculus that was done in 14th century and 15th century into the world. He has published a lot of papers on this topic, and he has this wonderful book published in Springer.
The Mathematics of India by P.P. Divakaran. Concepts, Methods, and Connections. It's Culture and History of Mathematics 10.
And since he passed away, I thought it's a great opportunity for us to talk about Indian calculus in the 14th and 15th century.
Before you get there, you say he's a particle physicist, but he's also talking about 14th century or something mathematics. How come this man who's passed away was doing both of those things?
Yes, great question. So actually, he was mostly a particle physicist all of his life. He was picked up by an Indian National Talent Search in the 1950s. And after that, he went to Chicago.
So what is this here? This is his abstract. Grand Unification incorporating universally. Huh? Grand Unification incorporating universality. Universality. I don't know what that word is. And family structure. Universality? Universality. I don't know. Weak and strong universality. Universality. I'm going to look this up. The quality of involving or being shared by all people or things in the world in a particular group.
Universality.
Guys. Oh, I knew this word. Universality. Why did I make out like I didn't know this word? I knew that word. Sometimes brain don't work. Sometimes brain don't work.
Chicago. For his PhD, he also came to Oxford and worked with Professor Dalitz. Then
A general criterion of quantum integrability accommodating central charges and anomalies. A simple quantum generalization of the Louisville-Arnold criterion of classical integratable is proposed. A system is quantum integrable if it has abelian Lie group of Wigner symmetries of dimensions equal to the number of degrees of freedom. Yes, of course.
Then he returned back to India and became a professor in particle physics and did a lot of work on quantum field theory and particle physics. He retired in late 90s, and after retiring, he got a fellowship to visit other institutions in India. So he was visiting Chennai Mathematical Institute. That's where he came in contact with historians of mathematics doing research on Indian calculus. And since he was a mathematical physicist, he could read these books and appreciate it much better than purely a historian of mathematics. It's a fortunate thing that I met such an eminent person in my life.
Interesting.
I knew about.
So he was a quantum theorist, very reputable, and then he got involved in deciphering and understanding and pushing out, the history, maybe the history that's not really shared of Indian mathematics, of ancient Indian mathematics, or at least 14th century Indian mathematics. Probably older. We'll see. We'll find out. But I think that's really cool. I think that's really fascinating.
Him from my friend circles, from my professors a lot because he was well known. I met him twice in my life. The first time I met when I was a first year PhD student, and he was visiting my institute to give a lot of talks on physics that time, not on mathematics. The second time I met him was last year, and I spent about 2 months with him every day, interacting all throughout the day. So in some sense, I was kind of taking care of him while he was there. It's an institute called Inter-University Center for Astronomy and Astrophysics in India. And after I came back to UK, we kept in touch. We exchanged emails regularly, mostly on physics and mathematics. So we knew each other very well. And it's really sad that he passed away.
Tell me
Of
about
course.
Indian calculus then, because when I think of calculus, I think of Leibniz and Isaac Newton. I've seen all the documents at the Royal Society. There was famously a dispute as to which one of them was first and things like that. You're going to tell me a different story via your friend.
Yes. First
So,
of all,
okay, I
all
won't
credit to
interrupt.
Newton and Leibniz. Newton is one of my greatest heroes in physics because of physics reasons, but also he discovered calculus as well as Leibniz. And so there's no connection between Newton's discovery and the discovery in India that I'm going to talk about. Coming back to Kerala school, Kerala in the
You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to. Listen, I know it's Pakistan occupied Kashmir, and the Chinese line of control, or whatever this area is called that China is currently over. You didn't have to do that. You don't have to make those a lighter gray color.
the modern India is a state, it's a southern state. It's a very intellectual state. It's well known for mathematics and culture and physics. In those days, it
A lot of stuff centers and revolves around Kerala. I've noticed, just South India in general.
was under a kingdom called Vijayanagaram kingdom, so 14th century, second half. And there was a particular mathematician called Madhava who kind of emigrated from 200 kilometers up in north towards a place where he settled finally and built his school of mathematics. We know a lot about his mathematics because of his disciples, his students wrote a lot about all the theorems and proofs, but we don't know much about his life. We kind of know which village he was born in, so at least that much is clear. And we also know his birth year, which I think is 1340. And very soon he established the school.
1340? But this is the later half of the 1400s, right? So this guy was over 100 years old?
Place where he settled finally and built his school of 200 kilometers. And there was a particular mathematician called Madhava for mathematics and culture and physics. In those days, it was under a kingdom called Vijayanagaram kingdom, so 14th century, second half.
14th century, second half. Oh, okay. All right.
And
I
there
see
was a
what
particular
I see.
mathematician called Madhava who kind of emigrated from 200 kilometers up in
Listen. I misheard him the first time.
north
I understand now.
towards a
It's
place
fine.
where he settled finally and built his school of mathematics. We know a lot about his mathematics because of his disciples, his students wrote a lot about all the theorems and proofs, but we don't know much about his life. We kind of know which village he was born in, so at least that much is clear. And we also know his birth year, which I think is 1340. And very soon he established the school, which today we call Kerala School of Mathematics. In the Western world, it is known as that. But I think Professor Divakaran will call it.
So the school is still going on for 500 years. Well, I guess, 600 years, 600 and some odd years.
Nila School of Mathematics. Now, this word Nila is a name of a river, and the mathematicians sort of lived in villages around those river. And it went on, this school of mathematics, for about 300 years.
How kind of formalized would this, what would this have looked like if I was there?
Yes, that's a great question. So I think this was a Gurukula culture in the sense the word Gurukula means teacherhood in some sense. So the disciples or students would go to a grand teacher or a master and they would stay around their place and learn. But it was not a big campus basically. It may be just the house of your teacher and you live around it. But again, I'm not very sure in this particular question.
It obviously became the place to go, did it? And people who had an affinity with mathematics would travel there.
Yes, and I should say
That's
that
really
this was
cool.
also a place of cultural revolution in Kerala, in the state. The language is called Malayalam. It's Kerala's language, and a lot of cultural and linguistic and even Ayurveda revolution happened around that place. So definitely that was an important place. Most of the evidence that we know in the modern day, especially in the Western world, about the Kerala school, comes from a particular book. It's called Yukti Bhasa. It simply means the language of logic and proofs, basically, formal mathematics. And it talks about the calculus that was done for the past 100 and 150 years. This book was written in 1520s, and Madhava arrived in 1350s, so you see the gap. And it talks about several important things that we know in modern calculus.
So this book that you're talking about, which is talking about something that happened hundreds of years before, is already 100 years before Newton and Leibniz.
Yes, 200.
Yeah, this is well before. Wow. Okay, so again, like, it's unfortunate, but the true story of India's achievements just isn't that well known, especially outside of India.
More than 200 years before, and it is well known now on Wikipedia, on mathematical sources. Most mathematicians would know this by now, so it's an important
Both mathematicians.
But Newton and Leibniz wouldn't have had access to this book.
So,
I mean, this is the first time I've heard of it. This is the first time I've heard of this. So it's not something that's taught. Yeah, we're definitely, like, at least here in America, we're taught about Newton and stuff. But yeah, we're not taught about this at all. I didn't really learn anything about India aside from like some of the British Raj stuff until I started trying to learn about it on my own.
of course, I cannot deny, but there's no evidence, and I don't want to push that angle because I've talked to Professor Divakaran, who has read 7 volumes of Newton's work, and he says he did not find any evidence. The ideas were so different. The Indian cultural thinking was so different from the Renaissance thinking that it sounds unlikely. But King was work.
So let's repeat this because I interrupted.
Would know this by now, so it's an important thing.
But Newton and Leibniz wouldn't have had access to this book.
So, of course, I cannot deny, but there's no evidence, and I don't want to push that angle because I've talked to Professor Divakaran, who has read 7 volumes of Newton's work, and he says he did not find any evidence. The ideas were so different. The Indian cultural thinking was so different from the Renaissance thinking that it sounds unlikely. But who knows? One of the fundamental things about calculus is measuring the length of a curve or an arc. The Indian mathematicians were concerned with measuring the length of an arc. It might have come originally from astronomy because planets rotate around sun, and you need to cover the arc. The way Newton came to it was through motion, which is very similar. You have a curve which is not linear, it's not a straight line. Your velocity is changing as a function of time, and he wanted to capture it. So it's something which is changing as a function of time. The Indian mathematicians were concerned with circles, so they're looking at something which is changing as a function of theta, angle. Okay. So how do you measure the length? If something is linear, you know the length. If something is curving, to calculate that length, you have to discover calculus. So what you do is take a curved object like an arc and split it into small segment and treat each segment as a straight line in the limit when the length goes to 0, and then add them up, and then you get the arc. So they use this to find many important series. So they found the series expansion of sin x, the so-called Maclaurin series, to find many important
series.
They found
Okay.
the series expansion.
I am having a little trouble understanding some of the words he's saying. Like I thought he said cities there. I was like, cities? What do you mean by cities? But he said series.
Of sin x, the so-called Maclaurin series. They found the series expansion of cos x, and they found the series expansion of arctangent, tan inverse x, which is very famous.
Man. Oh, man. Calculus. When did I touch calculus last? Junior high school? Well, no, that's when I first did it. Like at the end of high school. Yeah.
Gregory series.
Okay, how
I used to be decent at math, right? It's been a long time. I haven't really had the need to use math. Like I said before, I do watch the Numberphile channel. I do have a curiosity and an interest in his channel. I think I've watched a good majority of all the videos he's uploaded for a while now. And do I fully comprehend everything? I'll admit, probably not. Do I understand the basics and can grasp the what he's coming to and what he's trying to explain? Yeah, I understand that, and it's no problem. Do I ever want to go back to school and do maths? No. 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 I'll keep that as a vague interest on my periphery.
How different were the techniques they were using to what Newton and Leibniz ended up using? If you map it all back, is it all the same stuff fundamentally, or is it really different?
Fundamentally, technique-wise, it was exactly the same. The same techniques was being used, splitting an object into small, small parts and taking a limit. So this was the first time in the history of mathematics where limits were taken carefully. So it's same in that sense. It's different in the sense that Newton and Leibniz talked about all sorts of functions. Any general function you give me, I can give you its derivative, I can integrate it. In Indian mathematical school in Kerala, it was only trigonometric functions because they were talking about circle. So they had sine, cosine and tangent. That's the main difference. Things like exponential function, logarithm function, never.
I wonder what the original words were for it all, because obviously it's going to be different. I'm curious to see.
Appeared in the Indian school. I won't be surprised if they would have been able to do it, but they got so concerned with the foundational issues that they stuck to few classes of functions but went into foundational issues of how to expand a function, add corrections carefully and carefully and carefully. So they spent all of those years focusing on that. And circles were all they were thinking about. It's just sort of Indian thinking at that time.
Circles, only thinking about circles.
How did these ideas discovered in the Kerala school not spread around the world and become famous before Newton and Leibniz were even born?
There are multiple reasons why this could have happened. First of all, this happened in Kerala, and this grand textbook that I'm talking about called Yukti Bhasa was, I should not say the word unfortunately, but it was distinctively written in the local Kerala language, Malayalam. And
Malayalam, yeah. It is, Malayalam is interesting. Malayalam is very interesting. I can't read it, obviously, but I've looked at a lot of Malayalam. I'm a very visual person, and I can distinct a lot of different languages apart from each other. Like I can look at and I can distinguish, basically every single Indian language and then the surrounding countries as well. So like Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, like all these Eastern or Central Asian, Central Asian, Eastern languages I can differentiate. Malayalam is, it's interesting. I like it. It's very swirly. That's because, they writ on like palm leaves, right? Banana leaves. It's very swirly. And I think even back then, there wasn't too much translation going on between a lot of these different languages. Unfortunate. So like the spread of it, you're not gonna have someone in the north of India, being able to read this. So I guess there is that kind of blockade. And then of course, I mean, Northern Europe was always just constantly, there seems to always have constant, warfare going on against, different invading nations. And so you would have that blockade almost. Like Southern India was a refuge, in a sense where, invaders didn't take over. They were able to stabilize and stay safe in Southern India, but they couldn't push up via land, unfortunately, just because of like the constant ebbs and flows of invaders and stuff like that.
And most scholars knew Sanskrit and they could read and understand
Yep.
Sanskrit. So the later
Sanskrit.
scholars, including Western scholars, could not get hold of a Malayalam book where detailed of complicated advanced proofs were written in that language. So that
Yep.
is one.
You're gonna, it's a huge language barrier, which is a bit unfortunate. I mean, that is one of the beautiful things about India, though, is just the immense diversity of languages. But it does have, in this case, where what would the world look like if, this calculus, this ancient Indian calculus from the 1300s, from the late 1300s, what would the world be like hundreds of years before? Or, like what, just trying to think of it, like, it's crazy.
One major reason. The second reason is Kerala was under Portuguese colony. So there were a
Oh,
lot of fights
true.
going on at that time. That's one of the reasons why the school sort of declined and died.
When did the Portuguese take over parts of Kerala? Yeah, so the Portuguese arrived in Kerala at 1498, 1503. So a few hundred years after the fact of this book, but again, you know, just it being a little bit harder for, Malayalam to spread to the north where they, did everything in Sanskrit. 1498. Interesting. Very interesting.
And with that, the mathematical culture sort of died off until it was
Yeah, I mean, they came in and just they kind of ruled with an iron fist, really.
why the school sort of declined and died. And with that, the mathematical culture sort of died off until it was picked up only 50, 60 years ago. In fact,
Crazy.
a book that was written before this book by the previous scholar called Nilakantha, a few years before, he wrote his book Aryabhat Bhasya. It's about the older Indian mathematician Aryabhat and what he did in Sanskrit. And that was very popularly known. We do not know exactly why this book was written in the Malayalam language. But once it is written in Malayalam language, it was difficult to break through, especially because the proofs that we are discussing are extremely formal, series expansion, power series expansion proofs, which was not even conceived in the northern part of India at that time.
What did
Wow.
Professor Divakaran have to say about this on like a personal level? Like, did he feel pride? Did he feel an injustice or a sadness that it never got recognized sooner? Or what was his opinion about all this?
Great question, and I know this answer from him directly, but also he has talked about it in many of the lectures. So before I answer, let me give reference to some of the lectures. So he gave a set of 3 famous lectures at the International Center for Theoretical Sciences. It's in Bangalore in India in 2020. And those lectures are recorded in a very nice high quality, and one can actually watch and see all the proofs he's giving. So it'd be nice to watch those lectures. But I've also had this.
Are they linked down below? I don't think so.
Conversation with him in person. He wasn't sad that it wasn't well known. He understood the reason why. It's sort of nobody's fault. Nobody was maliciously trying to hide it. So he understood the complexity of reasons why. But also he worked hard and got it out. So he was very happy with it. And he went deep into it. Not just Kerala school, he went back and back. In fact, this book that I'm holding is divided into 3 sections. The first section goes to 1500 BC Indian number theory. The second one goes to 500 AD Aryabhata, so astronomy and mathematics. And then finally this Kerala School of Mathematics, which is, I would call as a very pinnacle of mathematics.
Where calculus came out. And yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Again, when it comes to mathematics, India was ahead of a majority of the world. It is truly amazing just how, I mean, India was itself, had multiple hubs where people would come from all over the world to go there to study, to tour, stuff like that. Great, large, giant schools all throughout India. So a lot of these teachings and knowledge, these mathematical knowledges, just knowledge in general, swept out of India. Again, though, a lot of this was, in Sanskrit, easily, translatable. Then you have this calculus, which that's cool. Calculus before even like Newton. Wow. This is why I enjoy learning about India. This is why. It's rich in history, it's rich in culture, it's rich in importance, in human importance. I really do think the story of humanity has a huge part to thank to India. India plays just such a huge role in the story of humans. A massive role. And I'm not talking, out of India theory or anything like that, but just in general, it does feel like a lot of the major world events, like, completely, future shifting events happened in part due to India. In some rhyme or reason or some little, tidbit or some major tidbit, India influenced or pushed or was the reason for these huge, major, influential things that happened all across the world. That's why I like learning about India. All right? I'm not here to try to pander. I'm not here to say that I'm the most knowledgeable about any different subject. I'm not here to say, I know everything about India. I'm here to learn because I want to learn. I'm here to give my opinion because some of you guys want to know my opinion on these things that I learn. I just like doing it, man. I just like doing it.
And mathematics. And then finally this Kerala School of Mathematics, which is, I would call.
This is so cool. I wonder how. I wonder how easy it is to get into this as someone that's not like super deep into mathematics. The mathematics of
into
India.
3 sections.
I'm gonna look it up really quick. Whoo, $85. Whoo, $100. Whoo, that's pricey. That is a bit pricey, I will admit. Accessibility information. What is this? Coming soon. Well, huh. In addition to the when, who, and what, he also discusses the how and why and connects historical developments in linguistics, philosophy, and cultural traditions. At the same time, he observes the meaningful relations of with mathematical history. He addresses previous discussions and controversies and presents his own views and opinion on the feasibility of others' arguments. His commentaries are critical without being dogmatic. The book provides details of mathematics developed primarily in India, bringing out the salient points while using modern notation. I can't read. And conventions to help foster a better understanding and appreciation of the topic on hand. One problem with some of the books on history and mathematics in India is that they do not present the original text from a manuscript during an exposition, leaving the reader in doubt about the accuracy of the translation presented. Divakaran alleviates this problem by providing the necessary text from the original manuscripts. Oh, at least in Roman last notation, IAST notation, or sufficient references in places where the text itself is missing. So mathematical development in ancient India, Aryabhatan revolution. The Nihilist school in Kerala, starting from Madhyava. It refrains from merely providing a list of dates and personalities. It gives instead a vivid description, development, and bringing in the right amount of details. Unfortunately, the book is like super expensive, but I mean that's really cool. Okay. All right. Okay.
The first section goes to 1500 BC Indian number theory. The second one goes to 500 AD Aryabhata, so astronomy.
How do I say his name properly again?
So a wonderful physicist and mathematician, Professor P.P. Divakaran.
P.P. Divakaran. Thank you. P.P. Divakaran.
The first section goes to 1500 BC Indian number theory. The second one goes to 500 AD Aryabhata, so astronomy and mathematics. And then finally this Kerala School of Mathematics, which is, I would call as a very pinnacle of mathematics. Madhava was definitely the most prominent mathematician in the world in the medieval ages, without a doubt.
So he would have been known outside of India?
It's only in retrospect.
If somehow, this had broken out of India and got into the Western world at the time it was happening. Is there any speculation as to where mathematics and physics would be now? Would we be 200 years ahead?
I think it would have accelerated a lot. But it also depends on Western world understanding decimal system. You might know that Newton was intrigued when he had this binomial expansions and he was thinking of decimal systems. And he's thinking this is a new paradigm. But decimal systems has been used in India for thousands of years.
That's just crazy to think of. Like in the West, it didn't come about until Newton, but they were using decimal systems in India for thousands of years. That's crazy.
So if people understood decimal system very well, then it would have easily broken out.
How do you feel about it? Do you feel a pride in this? Do you feel an injustice? What's your opinion of it, having, read the book and spoken to the man and understanding it more?
First of all, I'm not surprised because I'm an Indian, so I know the cultural heritage of mathematics. So something like mathematics happened in India, I'm not surprised. If something like law of gravitation was known, I might be surprised and be intrigued. Mathematics was part of culture. So I also feel proud, but not necessarily as an Indian, but as a scholar, to know that this modern thinking of mathematics and calculus existed so long back, and these people are thinking very, very modern way of expanding functions and approximating them.
Fantastic video. Absolutely fantastic video. Love it. Grand applause, everyone. I don't want to do that too loud for the microphone. Great video. Great video. Man. it's not only, it's not only a testament to just how advanced India was. It's a testament to how advanced humanity was. Again, it's all a huge human story. I love learning. I love learning about stuff like this. I really, really do. Link to the video is going to be in the description down below, guys. Please go and take a look at it. I'm going to read some of these comments now, see what other people are feeling. Another fun fact is that in Brazil, the quadratic formula is known as the Bhaskara formula. Bhaskara was an Indian mathematician who worked out the solution for the quadratic formula in the 1100s. BC or CE. I'm assuming CE, right? Not as an Indian, but as a scholar. Yeah. You should just, everyone should, if you're a scholar, you should be proud, right? Easy to appreciate that POV. I love the fact that Madhava focused solely on trigonometric functions. Trigonometric functions? Is that how you pronounce that? Trigonometric. Trigonometric. Is that right? I don't know if that's right. Functions. It reminds me of how Pythagoras despised that. Pythagora? Is that how Pythagora? Is that his name? Listen. I have undiagnosed dyslexia, so it is incredibly difficult for me to read sometimes, okay? And that's why I have problems pronouncing names. That's why I misread things sometimes. Like when I look at a word, I could know that word, then I could like read it out loud, and I'm like, I don't know, what is this? What is this word? But then I go and I look it up, or I hear it being said, and I'm like, I'm dumb. I know this word. Why am I so stupid? Oh my God, my brain is broken, guys. My brain is broken, but I'm going to use it until I can't use it anymore. Professional Malayali, I can see why the book went untranslated. Even today, I can't remember what basic arithmetic operations as denoted as in Malayalam. Okay. Apparently, Indian mathematicians invented the concept of zero. Yep. That's one thing that everyone says. Everyone says that. They invented the symbol, not the concept. The ancient Babylonians used an empty space. The Indians just filled it up. And it was the Muslim Al-Khwarizmi who developed long division, which is why the zero is so useful. Europeans were still using Roman numerals until the 13th century and suffered greatly in division. But they adapted Arabic numerals and Al-Khwarizmi's algorithm for long division. Before you knew it, you were paying 28% interest on your credit card balance. Even the word algorithm comes from his name, and the word algebra comes from the name of his book. Interesting. Your comment cannot be any more inaccurate. Earliest methods of division was discovered in India, China, and only much later adopted, performed by people like him, Middle East, and formalized in Europe. And the Arabic numerals have no Arabic origin. They were used since millennia in India, only to reach Baghdad during Abbasid era, where a lot of Sanskrit texts were translated to Arabic. In Europe, Fibonacci, he spelled that wrong, right? Was one of the first to adapt them, and he did at that time credited them as Indian numerals rather than Arabic. It's basic, uncontested history. Your comment is simply wrong. You are repeating fake nationalist myths invented in the 19th century. Sad. The reason the base 10 representation was used in India was due to the general fascination with representation and working with large numbers, and therefore significant contributions of number theory from ancient India. I'm not a nationalist, but believe whatever helps you sleep peacefully at night. Nationalist myth, maybe you have motivated reasonings. Not everything's a motivated reasoning, guys. Not everything is a motivated reasoning. Zero or Shunya was invented in India. Babylonian tablets prove that Indians only invented a symbol to fill the space. The concept of nothingness was apparently too much for their minds, and Muslims invented modern long division. You can't argue with documented history by constantly repeating myths. Somehow failed to discover the toilet, even in current year. What? Oh, now it's just getting to racism. All right, well, that threw me out. Mathematics is part of culture. This is the one statement I could totally connect and proudly agree about India. Kerala School of Astronomy and Mathematics, Badiavan. The school was burnt down by Tipu Sultan. Of course, the Sultanate. Always with the sultans. This is what makes mathematics interesting. Different parts of the world, people discover these concepts either through need or just curiosity. Honestly, I'm going to be real with you guys. I think there are large swaths of humans' existence that we just don't know anymore. I think a lot of what they were doing and they learned in their time, in the 1300s or prior, I think we probably were at that stage 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, 100,000 years ago. Humans, as we know, modern humans, have been around for hundreds of thousands of years, even potentially upwards of 1,000,000 years. Modern humans. I think so much of humanity and our knowledge and just our history is currently under the water. Just because, humans tend to build on the coast. What is under the water now? The coastline of ancient humans, of ancient Earth, of Earth from 100,000 years ago is all underwater. So I'm not saying there were like super advanced, even more advanced than us, but I do think 50,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago, they were a lot more advanced than hunter-gatherers. And the only things that survived, this apocalyptic flooding that's happened because of this flooding myth has been in basically every culture all around the world. The only people that survived were the nomads and the hunter-gatherers after the fact. And a lot of the stuff that they had is underwater and is completely destroyed and crushed by the pressure of the water itself, ground into dust. Sad times, man. Sad times. Well-made video. Really appreciate the effort. Keep up the content. What a breath of fresh air in this video what a breath of fresh air is this video amidst all the blatant anti-Indian racism. Okay. I was like, all right, there's going to be so much racism. And then, we was calculus and SNT. What does that even mean? I'd like to point you to geometric research done by monks in Buddhist and Shinto temples in Japan during the Edo period. A lot of temples had wooden tablets called Sangaku tablets on display showing proofs they have found. This is the problem with maths. Like all these advanced maths could have developed by many people in many different societies independently, but we are only able know about only few of them as they are both recorded and recording survives. There could have been civilization who developed it but was entirely belonging to oral tradition. There could have been other civilizations that might have developed and recorded, but either were lost language to translate it, or these recordings could have not survived the flow of time. I feel like this was worded very poorly, but kind of the same thing that I'm talking about, right? Kind of. Such a beautiful explanation. Great interview. What a clear, enjoyable speaker. Really interesting video. Indians talking about how West stole everything from India. Racists talking about how this is a PR video for India. I don't think anyone was listening to this gentleman. This is the first time I've seen that. All right. Oh, comment section. You just can't read them anymore, man. You just can't read them anymore. Carla mentioned. Didn't an Indian guy invent email and didn't get recognition? Is that true? An Indian guy invented email. True? Is that true? Ray Tomlinson invented the first network email in 1971. Interesting. Is this the guy that they're trying to see? People also search for Shiva Ayudhya, Indian American engineer, entrepreneur, and anti-vaccine activist. Oh. Maybe not. Is running for election for president in the United States? What? So this guy developed a program called Email in 1978. He copyrighted the program in 1982, but is claimed to have invented email as it is known today is disputed by many, including U.S. judge in 2017, as noted by Wikipedia and the BBC. So he claims he did it in 1978, even though Ray Tomlinson did it in 1971. So there's that. All right. I think we're going to end it there. I think we're going to end it here, guys. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Goodbye.